Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we are going to present about our article that we choose, and the title is about international relation theory. Okay, the meaning of the international theory is a theory of international relation and a set of ideas that explain how the international system works. In this international relation, we will know three main things, that is traditional theory, the middle ground, and the critical theory. From these three things, my teammate will explain more about the traditional theory, the middle ground, and the critical theory.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zafira binti Muhammad Zain. I would like to summarize the article titled International Relation Theory. Traditionally, there are two central theories in IR, namely realism and liberalism. Liberalism is known as ideal theory and exists until today. It believes in peace and harmony between nations, developed by Immanuel Kant in 18th century. When the states are ruled by their citizens, for example, the citizen itself are rejected the war. It can be simplified that the more liberal the state, the more peaceful it would become. In January 1918, US President Woodrow Wilson presented his idea to eliminate the war by creating an association, namely League of Nations. It was created to supervise affairs between the state and maintain international peace. Liberalism failed to retain due to the collapse of the League in Second World War 1939, and new theory emerged. New theory, which is realism, is promoting the presence of war. According to realists, realism have looked as far back as to the ancient world as similar patterns of human behavior become evidence. They claim that realism is reality of the world for changes in politics arena, whereby, according to Thomas Hobbes, social contact was required between the ruler and the people to maintain relative order. Leaders set the rules and establish a system of punishments for those who break them. This can create a sense of security. But when no such contract exists and no sovereign in charge of the world, it can create fear and disorder rules of IR. The differences of realism and liberalism can be seen from human nature perspective. Realists believe human beings do not have the potential for good and claim every individual must act for their own self-interest. People behave according to their own needs without care of others. For them, conflict could not be avoided, so the best way to dissolve dispute by having war that exists in humankind. In politic arena, realists believe the domination to the opposed is the way to cooperate between states. Liberal just eliminate the domination and focus to cooperation in order to strengthen the IR. Each scholar in these two groups theory never agree with each other, which include idea of peace and war. These two theory also came out with modern version, which is neoliberalism and neorealism, represent changes from their original roots. Liberals have optimistic view of IR, believing world can be improved with peace and slowly replacing the war. However, realists tend to dismiss optimists and they are more into negativity view, which is their focus is only to secure the need for survival.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Novara Atika binti Ahmad Zaki. So today I will explain about the middle ground. So first is the English school is sometimes regarded as a compromise between liberal and realist philosophy. Their thinking of the English school is often viewed as a middle ground between liberal and realist theory. Its theory involves the idea of a society of state existing at the international level. Hadley Ball, one of the core figures of the English school, agreed with the traditional theories that the international system was anarchy. And second is constructivist emphasizes the relevance of common values and interests among people who engage on a global scale. Due to its central premise, the English school is often characterized as having an international society approach to IR. This is describe a world that is not quite realist and not quite liberal, but rather a world that has element of both. Constructivism Constructivism is another theory commonly viewed as a middle ground, but this time between mainstream theories and the critical theories that we will explore later. Next is interaction between individuals are at the heart of international relations. Okay. Constructive highlight the importance of value and shared interests between individuals who interact on the global stage. Alexander Wendt, a prominent constructive, described the relation between agent, individuals, and structure, such as the state, as one in which structure not only constrain agent but also construct their identities and interests. His famous phrase, anarchy is what state make of it. Some this up well. Another way to explain this and to explain the core of constructivism is that essence of international relation exists in the interaction between people. As though interacting on the world stage have accepted international anarchy as the defining principle, it has become part of our reality. However, if anarchy is what we want make of it, then different states can perceive anarchy different, and the quality of anarchies can even change over time. International anarchy could even be replaced with a different system if a critical mass of other individuals and accepted the idea. To understand the constructivism is to that idea are or norms as they are often called have power. IR is then a never-ending journey of a change, the accumulation of the accepted norm of the past and the emerging norms of the future. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Yasmina Nadira binti Anor. So today I would like to present to you critical theories. Critical theories approach refer to the wide spectrum of theories that have been established in response to the mainstream approach in the main field, mainly liberalism and realism. Critical theories share one particular trait. They oppose commonly held assumptions in the field of IR that have been central since its establishment. Critical theories are valuable because they identify the positions that have typically been ignored or overlooked within IR, and they also provide a voice to individuals who have frequently been marginalized, particularly women and those from the global south. As you can see right here is Marxism. Marxism is an approach based upon the ideas of Karl Marx, who lived in the 19th century at the height of the Industrial Revolution. The term of Marxist refers to the individual who have been adopt Marxist views and believe that society is divided into two classes, which is the first is the business classes, the bourgeoisie, and the second is the working class, which is the proletariat. The proletariat are at the mercy of the bourgeoisie, who control the wages and therefore their standard of living. Second is post-colonialism. Post-colonialism different from Marxism by focusing on the inequality between nations or regions as opposed to the classes. Post-colonialism origins can be traced by the Cold War period when much activity in international relations centered around decolonizations and the ambition to undo the legacies of the European imperialism. This approach acknowledged that politics is not limited to one area or region, and that is vital to include the voices of individuals from other parts of the world. Another theory that exposed the inequality inherent in international relations is feminism. Feminism entered the field in the 1980s as part of the emerging critical movement. It focused on explaining why so a few women seems to be in a position of power and examining the implication of this on how global politics was structured. The most controversial of the critical theories is post-structuralism. This is an approach that questions the very belief we have all come to know and feel as being real. For an instance, liberals and realists both accept the idea of the state and, for the most part, take it for granted. So, although these two theoretical perspectives may differ in some respect in regards to their overall worldview, they share a general understanding of the world. Post-structuralism seeks to question this commonly held assumption of reality that are taken for granted, such as the state, but also more widely, the nature of power. By introducing doubt over why the state exists and who it exists for, post-structuralists can ask questions about central components of our political world that traditional theory would rather avoid. It is said that if you can shake the foundation of a structure, be that a word or ideas, you can move beyond that is in your thinking and become free of the power it has over you. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nur Ida Shona Kasim and I'm going to present about the theory in practice examining the United Nations. As we can see, the article that problem of study issue is about the theory in practice examining the United Nations. Okay, first of all, I want to introduce the major theory of international relations are realism and liberalism. Most theories of international relations are based on the idea that states always act in accordance with their national interests or the interests that particular state. Liberal tends to have faith in the capacity of international organizations, primarily the United Nations, along with other organizations such as International Monetary Fund, the World Health Organization, and the World Bank to uphold the framework of global governance. Realism, although they did not reject the United Nations, completely argue that the world is anarchy and state will eventually resort to war despite the effort of international organizations, which have little real authority. Generally, realists believe that international organizations appear to be successful when they are working in the interest of powerful states. But if that condition is a reverse of an organization become an obstacle to national interest, then the equation may change. United Nations Security Council is where power ultimately resides. United Nations does not possess a complete power over states, limited authority to interfere in domestic concerns since one of its main purposes has generally been to mediate diplomatically when issues between countries arise. Okay, for the party involved in the United Nations is the Security Council has 10 elected non-permanent members, each with their own board. The Security Council also contains 5 permanent members, which is the United States, Russia, China, France, and the United Kingdom. Those 5 permanent members can, through the use of a veto, stop any major resolutions. For the suggestions of the United nation is irrespective of any actual desire to maintain peace in a certain area. Peacekeepers are typically only permitted to apply force in matter to self-defense. As a conclusion, United Nations of an organization is merely symbolic. At the same time, despite its limited ability to inflict hate of state or prevent violence, it also prospers to argue that many nations have benefited from its work. Aside from its missions to maintain peace and security, the United Nations is also committed to promote sustainable development, protecting human rights, upholding international law, and delivering humanitarian aid around the world. Thank you. Stop me.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Syahrian Lee bin Jumat. I'm gonna present the conclusion of international relation theories. From this study, we get to understand a few things about the international relation theory, such as three-part spectrum of traditional theory, middle ground theories, and critical theories, each of which possesses legitimate yet different view of the world. It is important to note that the theories listed in this chapter are not exhaustive, and there are many more that could be examined. However, this is a good starting point for achieving an overall understanding of the field and where the most common approach are situated. The second is modernization of world produce. As time goes, modernity takes place. More and more theory will be born or produced with different ideology and point of view. The third is to be able to understand the various theories as tools of analysis that you can apply in your study. Last but not least, the growth of new theory due to the diversity and complexity of the international relation. As international relation has grown in complexity, the family of theories that international relation offer has grown in number. Due to its complexity and diversity, it is common for newcomers to have some difficulty in grasping international relation theory, but this chapter should give you the confidence to get started.